Revolutionising estate agency one sale at a time. Today I'm joined by Paul Leslie, who is an estate agent from West London. Thanks for joining me today, Paul.
Thank you for having me.
Before you switch the camera on, you said that legacy is really important to you, and you feel the best way to do that is to revolutionise the estate agency, but that can only be done one sale or one let at a time. What do you mean by that? Talk to me.
So, I mean, I would love to be part of government reform, but I don't think that's possible at the moment. So we're trying to do that one sale at a time. So again, we are providing or getting our clients, our customers to provide a lot of upfront information, TA forms, building control sign-off, fence certificates on a unique digital platform with a unique URL that can be shared with the buyers at the point they want to offer. And my hope is, alongside that, with the reservation agreement adding some security, my hope is that there'll be a dinner party where one of our clients is talking to one of their friends, and their friends is saying, it's been 6 months, I've had 3 fall-throughs, I can't see any light at the end of the tunnel, and they just say, well, our process wasn't like that, we went from start to finish in 8 weeks, and then how did you do that? And then hopefully it just snowballs.
Why do you think estate agents aren't embracing material information?
I think the second part of it is difficult. I don't think it's fit for purpose, if I'm being honest. Some of the questions that are being asked, and then estate agents are being potentially held liable for that from November. But I do think that in terms of getting the TA forms and the protocol forms and some very simplistic information up front, I can't understand why more people aren't adopting that.
Do you think some estate agents are not doing it because they might see it as a way that they could potentially lose the listing?
I guess that could be a reason. It seems like one of the only reasonable ones. And when you are working on a volume-based business where it's 100 sales, 70 under offer, 50 out the bottom, then yeah, perhaps it's slowing it down.
Do you mention the fact that you do all this at the free val?
Yes, yeah. We talk about our process, yeah. So we talk a lot about our process and we talk about our strategy as well. And I think that the feedback that we get is that people aren't being spoken to about those two particular things, which seems to me crazy, with it's their most valuable asset that they'll ever own.
You talk about reservation agreements. I'm a massive fan of reservation agreements. The fall through rates go down into single digits. Do you find the same yourself?
Absolutely, yeah. We've had last year, across the whole of last year, we did 27 sales and 1 fell through, so that's sub 5%. And our seller was financially compensated on that occasion.
So which reservation agreement firm do you use?
We use Gazille.
Okay. I mean, the national average is 24%. So to get it into single digits is really, really well. So you believe your USP, your revolutionising estate agency, is as simple as, the material information to ensure that they've got that information up front. So when the ball starts going, it's already in motion.
Yeah.
And then the other part is you've got the reservation agreement at the end to ensure that no one throws the rat out the pram, because that's normally why people fall out, isn't it?
I think that if you've got, and with any of our listings, we're going to hope that we generate multiple offers. And if you've got 3 offers and 2 people are willing to go into a reservation and 1 isn't, for me, that's an immediate red flag against the person that's not willing. And we've seen sellers take significantly lower offers because a buyer is willing to offer that additional commitment. In terms of it's the transparency of giving that information up front, but it also shaves weeks off of the conveyancing process because those forms are completed at the outset. And again, the more time that goes past, the more people worry about things, the more that they maybe start going back on the portals. If you can get that.
So what's your average length of time?
We're about 8 or 9 weeks.
But then if you've got people in the chain, you've got to drag them along as well, haven't you, at that sort of stage?
So again, one of the benefits of Gazille is they offer to sort of secure the rest of the chain. But yeah, where there's external factors that we can't influence, obviously that does have a detrimental effect.
I asked you a minute ago why estate agents don't embrace material information, because you're obviously using it as a USP to get more listings. Why do you think estate agents aren't embracing reservation agreements? Is it for the same reason, that they'll see it as a potential fly in the ointment to get the listing?
I think there's an element of that. I think there's a lot of a lack of understanding around them. I think because of historically people have talked about a non-refundable deposit, which is, we all know, is in practice is virtually impossible to implement. And by the time the solicitors have argued about who's holding it, the rider clause and all that, it's null and void anyway. So, you know, I've heard when we've mentioned it and another client has spoken to another agent about it, they say that's illegal, which is clearly not, because Gazil is works in association with the Law Society. But I think there's a lack of understanding. There's a lack of, again, because of the way the model typically works in this country, there's a lack of people really wanting to drive it forward or having the time or wherewithal to think about change.
Do you genuinely believe that embracing material information and reservation agreements gets you more listings and subsequently gets you more exchanges?
Yes, I think so, because I think whenever I talk to someone in their living room and we explain our process and why we do it, they love it. They say they can't. Why isn't it mandatory? Like, and we talk about it being the process in Scotland, north of the border, which is just, for me, is crazy.
Does it not worry you that your competitors will eventually cotton onto this and do it themselves?
Yeah, of course, yeah. And this video will no doubt maybe get some people to look at it that haven't in the past. I think that it's not as simple as just implementing it, because whilst it's a brilliant idea, reservation agreements aren't necessarily an easy sell per se. They do cost money, so it is a cold cost added to the transaction. I think when you asked about our USP, it's not just material information and the reservation agreements. We deliberately work with a small number of clients at any one time, meaning they get myself or the other two directors of our business working on that sale. So they're getting handheld by really, really experienced people in the industry.
So are you a personal agent in the fact that you do everything from start to finish?
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting that those agents that have that personal estate agent tend to have higher exchange to listings ratios?
Well, yeah, and if you look at the kind of the typical process where, for me, it's absolutely bananas that you'd get somebody get paid on listings. So they go out, win the business, they hand it back to the office, the negotiators all moan about it being overpriced because they only needed to get it listed. Then the negotiators then fight over it, and then that's not necessarily conducive to getting the best possible price. Then it gets handed to a sales progressor that's perhaps salaried. Do they really care whether it goes through or not? Whereas if you've got a personal agent, you could not be more invested in that sale actually completing.
Do you think the future of estate agency is more and more down the self-employed?
Without question. It has to be. It has to be.
And I think that ultimately is the biggest revolution that will affect estate agency, is the move away from a brand to a more of a personal brand.
Yeah. I think that it's obviously making noises and it's doing well at the minute. And, you know, the DXPs and the Keller Williams of the world are doing okay with it. I think that if I was to predict, I think there's probably going to be a wobble at some stage. Something's probably going to happen with a self-employed agent, and then there might be a wobble in confidence. I think that will then subsequently mean that regulation or licensing is brought in, which will professionalize the industry as a whole. But I then think that self-employed agency will take over.
So let's just confirm that. It is your opinion that the revolution in estate agency will be primarily through the move from employed to self-employed, where the estate agents take personal responsibility from start to finish and use such tools as using material information to secure the sale when it does sell, go sale agreed, and then finally the reservation agreements, which keeps everything nice and tight at the end to ensure that the homeowner moves more and you get paid more often.
Yeah, definitely. And I obviously I'd be lying if I said it wasn't commercially advantageous for us as a business, but equally for me that's a byproduct. I'm not looking at that as a sort of the forefront of what we're trying to do. Whether it's
because you said legacy, that was, we mentioned that in the title at the start. Yeah. Why legacy?
Why legacy? Well, two things, I think. I lost my dad in 2006 at the age of 50. He worked incredibly hard for a corporate firm, albeit a completely different industry. There was no pathway for his two boys to step into something that, at an age where neither of us knew what we wanted to do. And had we had that, whether it was catering, whether it was a estate agency or whatever it might have been, I would have loved to have taken on the mantle as part of kind of his honour, I guess.
Do you think losing your father has actually given you an impetus to be where you are today?
Without question, yeah. And I think it's allowed me to be a bit braver with decisions, because what's the worst that can happen, you know?
And what would your final message be to any estate agent who feels they want to create a legacy for themselves?
I think I would speak to as many of the self-employed models as possible, but not just the people that are trying to sell them. Speak to actual agents that are doing well, and some that aren't doing so well, and just get a really rounded picture and find out whether it's right for you, because it's not right for everybody.
Thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much.